I'm Joey.T.Cartoon.P and you watch Cartoon Palooza. Following the success of the TV show, the Rugrats went to the big screen with their first movie. While it was consistent with the humor of the show, it was overall a decent success financially. Therefore, a sequel is in the works. But going through this, you gotta wonder, what could the creators possibly do in order to top what they did in the last film? Well, that was easy. Take them to another country. This is where Rugrats in Paris the movie comes in. Now when the movie opened, my interest in the Rugrats was falling apart. I was getting older, and it seemed with the introduction of new characters that didn't do much, it seemed like the show wasn't going anywhere. But now that I'm older and I'm looking back at the Rugrats in a sort of nostalgic way, let's see if the second movie holds up just as much as the first one did. We open with our title card, which slowly transforms into one of the few recurring elements in the film, movie parodies. Now I wasn't sure if there were many noteworthy movie parodies in the first film, but they really dial it high in this film. From parodies to The Godfather, A Few Good Men,
You want the button, Philip? You can't handle the button!
And even Godzilla movies, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Grandpa Lou is getting hitched. This leads us to the movie's main conflict, which is the Finsters to find a new lady in their lives. Now I always knew that Chucky never had a mom, but for some reason this is reminding me of something. What is it? We later discover that Stu has developed a full-scale animatronic of Reptar for a theme park in Paris. Yeah, the man went from making a fully functional vehicle for kids to making simple Jaegers. So yeah, I remember Stu being a quirky inventor, but not one that should deserve a Nobel Peace Prize in science. After messing up the original design, Stu was asked with his family to go to Paris and fix it. Now get this. The theme park they go to is in Paris, but based in the made-up Japanese setting of Reptar. Not only that, they spend the majority of the film in this theme park, which brings us to the title. You figure for a movie called Rugrats in Paris, they'd spend time in friggin' Paris. At least with a clever script, they're self-aware.
Jeez, Stu. Seems kinda odd to have a Japanese theme park in the middle of Paris.
It's a new century. Just go with le flow.
Specifically with Dee, whose frustration coming from the fact that they're not spending time sightseeing. That, and when we do see Paris, it's from Spike roaming around the city to get with a poodle. Therefore taking something misleading and making it somewhat passable. The head of the theme park is our film's antagonist, Madame Labouche, voiced by Susan Sarandon, reading her lines like she did as Miss Spider from James and the Giant Peach. No, seriously, she had a French accent and had snarky lines of dialogue. It's almost like the same character except more of a jerk. Which I will give credit to her. She sounds like she's having a lot of fun playing an aggressive a-hole.
And who said Americans are greedy?
Along with her partner, voiced by John Lithgow, who looks like he just walked off the set of The Fifth Element. She wants a promotion but doesn't have the qualification because
you hate children and men find you to be a heartless shrew.
So she needs to find a man to marry in time for the promotion, and that's when Chaz comes into play. But speaking of subplots, we have Chucky convinced that the made-up character from the world of Reptar would be the perfect mother. Looks like we're going to be needing a needless character that can serve as exposition alone, and it will annoy me to no end. Well, it looks like Dill's making himself useful, so Kimmy, come on and piss me off.
So, Kimmy, do you and your mommy and daddy live in Reptar Land? Not exactly. It's just me and my mommy, and we live in Paris.
So if you haven't guessed, Kimmy, like Dill, was introduced from this movie, and later added to the cast of the Rugrats, to my ever-growing disappointment. Pretty much like Dill, she doesn't do much. She doesn't have that much of character compared to the rest. One might say she's spunky like Tommy, but we already have a spunky, curious character that's been developed longer and more likable. And it also isn't I'm in denial of having a character of Asian descent. If anything, I would welcome this since Rugrats have always been diversified. You got characters that were white, black, Jewish, homosexual. Oh, come on. It's so obvious. It's so obvious. Next scene. So we end up at a performance involving the Robo-Reptar, and Labouche finds out from Angelica that winning Chucky's heart as a possible mother would mean making herself look like the princess character. I'm actually going to give this movie credit here over the first one. Angelica is actually treated more like a villain, and even has an arc that resolved at the end. Kinda reminding us why she was such a relatable and frightening character to kids of our age. So Labouche manages to get on stage as the princess, Chaz is smitten, Kimmy's still pointless to have, and Chucky's pissed that she has to be the new mom. But this is weird, why do I feel like I've seen this before? Was it on the show? Oh no. Oh, that episode. It's starting to come to me all of a sudden. I've been putting it off for so long. I knew it was gonna come back in some way, shape, or form. Gotta go through. Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about the Mother's Day special on the Rugrats. And no, there's no other Mother's Day special that I can refer to that I know of. But trust me, fans will know this one as the Rugrats Mother Day special. So much so that this messed up Funny or Die video references it.
Chucky wants a mom? Yeah, Lil didn't work out too good. I suppose I could be his mom.
Do you want me to be your mommy? You like that.
It was a two-part episode that discusses the dilemma most fans had. Who and what happened to Chucky's biological mother? The question's put to rest when we discover that she died of some form of illness. However, rather than do what most movies do in order to make tragedy out of death by having the child be resentful and make bad decisions, Chucky is relatively understanding of it all. When his father describes that she's in a better place, being a child, he believes she's literally in a better place. Not that he's dumb, but he's a child where ideas like death are abstract for him. If anything, it's Chucky's dad that has to let go, and I feel that it was handled perfectly. I put this episode off not because it's bad, but because it still makes me cry. Watching a character I grew to love on Saturday mornings and see something deeply tragic blew my 6-year-old mind to pieces. People don't understand why this scene from the first film doesn't make me cry, but holy smokes, when Chaz is reading his wife's dying last words, it's like a hydrogen bomb of feels. It tears me up every time. So, let's get back to the film before I cry myself to sleep. If you thought Pacific Rim had the giant robot fight of the year, watch the babies control the giant reptar, fight a giant snail, cause millions of lives of property damage that will make the destruction in Man of Steel seem like a moot discussion. Seriously, fanboys, let it go. Chucky gets there in time, LaBouche shows off her bouche, Chaz gets married to the character that we're almost certain from the start of the film that Chaz would go with by the end, Kimmy's still useless, and the Rugrats end in true traditional Rugrats fashion. And that's the biggest strength of the film. While the first Rugrats film was a large adventure where the babies get stuck in the woods, there really is no way you can top that without coming across as needlessly silly from the show's standards. That's why I think it's a good idea to have a Rugrats film that's smaller and more personal. Granted, the giant robot fight is a push into needlessly over-the-top town, but I think the film could have afforded to have it. What the strength of the show comes from is that the babies treating everyday relatable issues as over-the-top adventures. Each one of those babies having their own interesting personalities. Expanding on Chucky finding a new mom is one of the stronger premises for a feature-length film. Granted, Nickelodeon was originally going to do the same thing to a proposed sequel to the Hey Arnold movie about his family, but that never saw the light of day. When the movie focuses on this aspect, it makes it better to watch than the first Rugrats film. While I do think with this aspect, the movie would be pretty even. You have the same loose plot with scenarios that don't go anywhere, mixed with the extreme potty humor. Speaking of which, I think Angelica sums it up perfectly.
What is it with you babies and poop?
Much like my rating for the first film, if I wasn't attached to Rugrats as I am, it would have been a passable experience. However, seeing how it ties to the show and its characters makes me appreciate it more as I get older. It's worth it. So now it makes you wonder, what could they possibly do for their next film, seeing that there is one more film to go? I mean, it could be a crossover. Classy Clouseau seems to love to do that. I mean, it could be a crossover with Rocket Power, or as told by Ginger, or...
Was nice, the party was pumping. Hey, yeah, yeah, and everybody having a